zoom it back, it makes my face look like extra wide and stretched out. We're just gonna go with it. We're not gonna fight it. We're not gonna try it. There's no update. I might just need to turn my phone off and on. I swear to God, that fixes half stuff with apps most of the time. Make some tea, and I'm sitting here talking to myself because it's Sunday, which means it's Members Day. It takes a minute for people to roll in and even know, and I'm like 4 minutes early, but that's okay. My mind went, it is Sunday, right? Yes, it is Sunday. It has been that type of existence. I'm not sure what time or day it is or where I'm at or what my name is. But I know that tea. We're going to have some tea. I'm going to do the Moonlight White tea again from Yunnan Sourcing. You don't have to get it from Yunnan Sourcing. I just really like Moonlight Whites. They're a really nice tea. They just are. I like them because they're subtle. I feel like they're a good blend between like the subtlety of a white tea and a little bit more flavor into the green realms, right? They're the same tea, same plant, just different, picking time and processing methods and things like that. Hey everybody, rolling in. Making some tea. And I always forget that like Sundays are a little calmer. Sundays aren't as chaotic. Put a bit too much in there trying to make it chaotic. So I don't have to. Last Friday was bad. Those trolls were like, usually I have trolls, but those were professional. A lot of them were probably bots, a bunch of them, but it was pretty crazy. Let me make sure that this sometimes, okay, there we go. Hey everybody who is continuing to roll in. It's the same. If you're new here, as I know there's lots of new members joining since I opened it up for, the live Q&As on Sundays for just the 99-cent level. So there's new members, but it's the same. It's the same as the Friday one. I just have tea first, and then we talk. That's it. Actually, I'm a little amped up today because I'm fucking angry. There's no way around it. My brain's like, you're gonna talk about it. So for those of you that have been following the chaos that is my genetic health, I had discovered that I had that primary carnitine wasting mutation, which is basically means when you eat meat, you get this thing, an amino acid called carnitine. They consider it a non-essential amino acid because your body kind of has the ability to produce it on its own, but not really. So you get it from meat mainly. And it helps turn fat into energy. It's a big part of your like ATP thing, right? It's a big deal in your body. It needs to happen. You need the carnitine to do this, but I just pee it out. And so, I had discovered that. But I'm particularly angry today because I was looking into it more about myself because I may or may not have stopped taking as much as I should have. And I'm like, my hip muscle really hurts again. My leg hurts really again. I'm not feeling great. Like, April, and I had still been taking it, but not the higher doses because my mind's like, I must be repleted by now. It's a little bit of like, denial about something that I probably have to take the rest of my life. It's much like if you were type 1 diabetic, you couldn't just decide, maybe not some insulin today. And that's essentially what I did. But anyhow, I started looking into it. And about 3 years ago, I started having these weird reactive hypoglycemia episodes where it's like opposite diabetes, where like my blood sugar would be fine and then I would eat and my blood sugar would go like dangerously low to the point where I like severely hallucinated one time. I thought that I walked up to my husband, bless his heart, and I said, I don't want to freak you out. And this is from what I remember. He probably has a clearer memory of it. I was like, but I don't think I'm from here. Like, I think I'm from here, but I think I might be from a different universe. And it turns out my blood sugar was 40. And then it was dropping because after that, the blood sugar meter wouldn't read it, and a bunch of glucose sugar saved my life. But it took me like 7 months to get into an endocrinologist, right? It took me 7 months to get in to see this guy. And this fucker, I shit you not, we go in there, and first of all, he's like 6'2" and like somehow under 150 pounds. That's how like scrawny, but also it's the middle of winter and he's existing in a spray tan that is like, like you would have to live deep in Arizona to ever naturally be that tan, and we're nowhere near that type of tan area, right? And long story short, I try to talk to him about my symptoms, about how it's weird that my A1C is fine. I don't have any other symptoms of like diabetes. I don't eat the type, I don't eat processed foods at all, literally. Like, I don't, like, why am I suddenly having, and he goes, this motherfucker looks at me and basically says, you're fat, here's a Dexcom. At the time, I weighed like 132 pounds. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, it's just a thing, it's just genetics. And I was like, well, but I started explaining all these other symptoms I was having and how it was really weird, and he just blew me off. But then he did try to drug deal me a Dexcom in a Walmart parking lot. He was like, here's a free sample, and if you run out, I swear to God, he was on a ton of coke. He's like, if you run out, I can like meet you in the parking lot at Walmart, and I can like give you another Dexcom. And I was like, I'll just order one, my guy. It was crazy. It was crazy. And so, but I'm just angry, and hear me out, I'm angry because today in my research, I try to like gaslight myself, or like, I'm like, is this really what's happening, right? Like, because I'm doing this all on my own, and I don't have access to a doctor who gives a shit, right? But in women, particularly in late onset diagnosis, do you want to know one of the main symptoms of carnitine transport disorders? You want to know one of the main symptoms of the wasting disorder? We typically end up with reactive hypoglycemia without any other signaling of diabetes. And I'm like, holy fuck, like, I was literally presenting. 3 years ago, my body was literally presenting with what was happening, right? And so I started taking B12 shots. And that really helped me. But I thought at the time, I was like, well, I was, must have been B12 deficient. I have some B12 transport issues as well. But it actually probably just masked the carnitine deficiency. Like, it allowed my body to like try to like go along and it stopped the reactive hypoglycemia crashes. But it's really fucking angry. It made me really angry because that is actually literally a symptom of what happens when you are like showing adult onset carnitine. And he's a fucking endocrinologist. Like, he's the first person you go to be like, what's happening here? And when people have reactive hypoglycemia, they are supposed to test carnitine levels, and he just called me fat and threw me a fucking Dexcom. you know. And by the way, I wore that little vampire thing, and it showed that I wasn't diabetic. Like, it would show like that I'd be fine, and then I'd like eat some food, and my blood sugar would go up like normal, and then it would just boom, it would just drop. So basically, what's happening is, when you eat food, your body releases insulin, right? And your glucose levels climb, and then you slowly shuttle it. But after that, what's supposed to happen is the ketosis, like the fat burning part, kicks in afterwards to keep your blood sugar stable after you've utilized the glucose that you just ate, right? But I don't have that. I don't have that very well because of my carnitine issues, and I wasn't supplementing, and doing what I am now. And so my blood sugar would just drop because there was nothing there to catch me, if that makes sense. There was no fat being utilized as energy. And anyhow, just made me fucking angry. It just made me angry. It made me angry when I figured it out, because it makes you feel super fucking lonely, and I'm like, this motherfucker. Like, it makes me angry is all, Somebody said, Chelsea says, I have been accepted to the low-dose ketamine treatment, just waiting on the date at the end of this summer. Also, because of you, I mentioned knowing about LDN and have started that this Friday. Oh, I'm so happy for you, and I really hope that both of them give you a good amount of support that you're looking for. That type of stuff can really be helpful. And I know that as an herbalist, it's weird because I talk about like medications and all kinds of stuff, but like, I don't think it should be either or. And there are a handful of medications that like I believe in deeply, right? Especially stuff that's been around forever and has been shown to help. And we know it's like accessible to most people, which is why they're like, oh, don't do that. That's too affordable for you, right? So, okay. Let me check something here, because sometimes what happens is on the chat filter, top messages, looks like everybody's coming through. Okay, so I have also started LDN and ketamine because of you. Stuff still early stages, but helpful. Now the stuff is coming through. So if I didn't see your comment before, I'm sorry. Okay, so if you have a question, say question, and we will get rolling with this Q&A. Question: would you recommend getting a HTMA test to get better eye on health? Is there a better one to start with? Any places you recommend? Yeah, I think it's a good place to start, right? This day and age, there's so many of them. What I recommend is shopping around to find the one that's most affordable for you, and make sure that it comes with some sort of interpretation, right? All the old school ones that people used to recommend like 3, 4, 5 years ago, they would give you the test but no interpretation alongside of it, and you kind of need somebody to break it down for you, because it's not as easy as this is high, as this is low, because sometimes a high can mean that you're not absorbing something, and sometimes a low can mean that you need more of it or you're not excreting enough of it or something like that, right? So just get whatever one that you can afford, and make sure that it comes with some sort of interpretation afterwards and like actionable steps, right? I think it is a good way to get an insight into your health, and particularly with like micronutrients and things like that, that aren't easily tested in the blood. But also, even if you wanted to test everything that was in the HTMA hair test, they'd have to take like a fucking gill of blood from you. You'd like die from the level of blood they'd take to do all those tests, and it's cool that you can just send in your hair. Okay, so you ever get like a burp stuck? That just occurred. So at some point, I was like, at some point it's coming out. Thank you so much for the amazing super, Gina Gonzalez. Let me make sure I didn't miss your question. My memory is absolutely horrible after getting COVID 2020. Any advice? Yeah, there's probably a fair amount of inflammation still going on, and they've shown that COVID can really like cause that in the brain. But also, I read an interesting study a while back where they were showing like actually like lower cholesterol in people post COVID, and so I think that you'd probably find benefit all around from working with like healthy animal fats if you're not already, or like finding like some high quality like emu oil supplements or something like that. If you can get it, if you don't live in the US, if you happen to live in Canada or anywhere like that, if you can get harp seal oil, fantastic. In America, we can't get it because they classify all marine mammals as endangered, even though they're not, and harp seals are like borderline invasive. But their fat is really, really amazing for all around complex support, and that would help support like your brain, like from recovering and giving it all of like the nutrients from fat that it needs, and like support healthy cholesterol and things like that. But aside from that, you can also work with like tallow, duck fat, ghee. Some coconut oil is okay too, but I'd make sure to get the animal based ones in there and cycle through it, right? Okay, question. I have been making my own gummies, normal, not THC, with grass-fed beef gelatin. I think I heard you say before about making it with vitamin C and being a good combo. Can you confirm, elaborate? I talk about using it alongside of it. You could probably maybe put some vitamin C in there towards the cool down phase, but the problem is you risk denaturing your vitamin C, which kind of kills it off, right? It won't kill it off entirely. But if you like sour gummies, you could probably like make a pretty firm gummy and then sprinkle the vitamin C over top of it if you want to. They'd be sour, but like people like that, but really just using it alongside of it is ideal too, because you need the vitamin C and all of the amino acids in the beef gelatin to like perform collagen synthesis. It's just kind of one of those things where, and it's conflicting though too, because right, if we eat too many sour things all the time, we can really do a little bit of an erosion to our enamel. So, I would probably just use it in conjunction together, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. I lost that one. Okay, so I have also seen night and day difference in my intense use of chamomile tea since my toxicity from parasite cream. The results are intense. Like beneficial. I might just be catching conversations because I'm rolling up here, but I hope that it's beneficial. Sometimes I swear to God. Okay, so my functionality with this, functionality is rough. Hi, April. Dry baby formula recipe. All the products recipes I find have some seed oil lecithin, including the Weston Price one. Yeah, that bugs me. The Weston Price Foundation never updated that. Why not? Why wouldn't this little gnat is driving me crazy? It's getting to be fly season, and I'm like, ugh. I don't know why they just don't swap it out with something like avocado oil or olive oil, right? But I mean, if you're gonna go the route of making your own baby formula, and I don't have any personal experience with making my own baby formula, but if you were going to, why not just get raw goat's milk? Or goat's milk of any kind, or powdered goat's milk, right? Like, goat's milk is really, really close to human milk, and babies have thrived on it for thousands of years when their mothers couldn't, like, be there. And in fact, if you look at, like, all the monasteries and things like that, where they, like, took on, like, here's your abandoned baby, they just had goats that they were using to feed these babies. And of course, it's your choice, and people are terrified of raw milk, and you want to make sure that the animals are healthy and the practices are clean and all that type of stuff. I wouldn't do some, like, backyard dealing, people who don't really know what they're doing with milk, but that's what I would do. And in fact, during the last shortage, we helped my sister-in-law, because she was like, and I was like, here, I have all the goat milk. Okay, so question. This may be way off, and I hope it makes sense. Have you ever looked at the correlations of the planets in herbalism, health, and medical astrology? Curious question. That's not weird. Some people do that. There's some people that are like, and I don't mean to have such a tone, but, like, I think that it could be, a thing to look into, but I also know people that take it way too far. Like, I know people who are like, oh, I was going to plant my mugwort, or my motherwort, or whatever it is, but I missed the yearly fucking alignment, so now I can't plant until next year. I'm like, what? Put it in the ground, right? And maybe there are things that your body might like better, but also at the same time, the human brain, if you tell it that chamomile is your main plant because your fucking Jupiter was in this alignment when you were born, it will believe that. Right, like, your brain believes what you give it. Your brain believes everything you watch on TV. Your brain believes, like, what you believe, right? So if you believe it, it could be beneficial, and I'm not against it. It's just, like, life is super complicated, and I don't really feel the need to put, like, extra steps of, like, those types of things in place, if that makes sense. Just do what you can, when you can, and how you can, and pay attention to how your body feels, and go from there. And if you end up with a ton of extra time and space on your hand, feel like diving into it, by all means. It can't hurt anything. Not really. Okay, so question for seaweed infusions. Are you able to use any dried seaweed? I have access to dulse. I haven't looked at the hard yet, though. Yeah, you want to use dried seaweed for an infusion. You want to use dried plants for nourishing herbal infusions in general. I don't know how beneficial a fresh one would be. You can certainly cook with fresh seaweed. But, when you're thinking about an herbal infusion, we're coming from the place of you are using hot water to extract typically the mineral vitamin content, right? Sometimes the herbal and, like, phenols and things like that too, but usually we're using non-fragrant herbs because we don't want to hurt ourselves, right? So you need it to be dry so the water can actually go in and bust open the cellular structure. If you are putting just wet herbs and just covering them with water, because they're already filled with water, think of it like how it can't go in because it's already in, right? Water won't push the other water out, if that makes sense. And so that's just something to consider. But, most seaweeds will work for it, except for, like, the nori sheets that are made all ready to be turned into, like, sushi. Those are highly processed. So you want some sort of raw, unprocessed seaweed if you're doing that. Question: what is the best herbal infused oil for contact dermatitis on your hands? Yeah, it depends on what's causing the contact dermatitis, obviously, but I really like chamomile, hands down, for calming down anything that is itching, burning, screaming. And then you can one up it and you can infuse dried oatmeal into the oil as well. People don't realize that. Like, it's real. You wouldn't want to use wet oatmeal, but, like, oatmeal is super soothing on the skin, and you can actually infuse the oats into your oil alongside of of the chamomile. It's one of my favorite oils. It's really easy to do. In the meantime, you could take some chamomile tea, make a big strong pot of it, like almost too strong to drink, and then use that water to make some like really gooey oatmeal that you cook down so it's like a paste. And you could, if it's really bad, if you had a really bad rash or something, you could put that on there and let it dry. Right, you're gonna be walking around with oatmeal on your hands, but I mean, if you're serious enough and you need to calm down a bad rash or something, do that. Use it like a pack. The chamomile and oatmeal combined are fantastic. And of course, if you have plantain growing out in your yard, that's another good option to even just add into the concoction, right? Or make into a poultice with the fresh plantain and rub it on there. Okay, so let's see. Got that one. Question. For my low hemoglobin, what herbs infusions should I incorporate? The thing is, I mean, you could do like a nettle. That would help, right? You've got lots of iron in there, although it's not heme-based iron. Nettle would be good. And then another blood builder would be yellow dock, but you wouldn't want to make an infusion out of that. You could maybe make a tea and or a tincture. Real cocoa powder would be pretty good. Like, it sounds funny, but like cocoa is pretty rich in like copper and things like that, so it can help your body make more blood. But you also need a fair amount of water to make blood, so don't, make sure you're drinking at least 2 quarts of water a day. Don't overdo it because you can like flush minerals out of your system, but like a half gallon is just 2 of these a day. Really, you only need to drink about 2 quarts of water a day unless you're like really out there sweating and it's like really hot where you're at or whatever. And then of course, like I talked about, I think it was the last one, getting liver into your diet right now is super important. That's going to help your body create more fucking hemoglobin because it's made from hemoglobin. Like, hemoglobin is blood, right? And so like you have to kind of like be replacing what your body isn't producing. um, Okay, question. What do you think about using herbs like marshmallow root and slippery elm and oil? I know they're mostly extracted in water for the mucilagens. Are there benefits to emaciate them at all? I don't think with the slippery elm, I think with the slippery elm it would be relatively pointless. I mean, I guess if you could get it as a bark form and not in a powder, which is actually pretty hard to find, might be pretty soothing for the skin in that way, but you'll never get the powder out. If you put the powder in that oil, it'll just become this glop of, right, like you'll have a hard time. But mallow root actually does pretty good in an oil base, and again, she's all the things you would assume that mallow in general is good. She's cooling, soothing, healing for the skin instead of the gut. And so mallow root is worth doing. I don't like to use powders in an oil infusion unless I'm making a large volume and it's only a small percentage, right? So like if I took this jar, which is full of tea, if I took this jar and I wanted to like say, I don't know, make a cayenne salve or something like that, and I had a bunch of other herbs in there with it, I'd only probably put about that much cayenne powder in there, because if you put too much, it swells up and you can't get that oil back. You don't, even if I have like a hydraulic press and I press the shit out of it, but I still can't get all the oil out of it, right? Or if you're going to be leaving the powder in, if you're not concerned about getting the powder out of it and you don't mind having it on your skin, then you could put a little bit more in. But even then, I wouldn't go too hard on it because you'll end up more of a paste than you will an infused oil, if that makes sense. Question for Sibo, would you recommend these steps? 1, raw milk, 2, kefir, 3, L-reuteri? I'm trying to go very slow since I got sick from kefir. I've been doing great on raw milk thus far. Yeah, you could definitely go that route. You might actually reverse it though, in the way that you do raw milk and then L-reuteri and then milk kefir. The L-reuteri still definitely goes slow, but you'll slowly start pushing back against like the bacterial overgrowth of whatever it is. And then when you start adding in the milk kefir very slowly again, probably a month or two after the L-reuteri, your stomach will probably handle it better, because when the milk kefir goes in there, she's 80 plus deep in an army to like attack bacteria, right? And if you have the L-reuteri in there, kind of cleaning up gently and helping get rid of some of that stuff, and you're making sure to eat plenty of like binders and things like well-soaked oat and beans to kind of like push that stuff out. So it's not just endotoxin staying inside of you after it's killed off. The milk kefir probably won't be as rough on you, right? But yeah, some people, it's so crazy. Some people, like, okay, here's a good example. My mom, who has horrendous gut issues, which we actually think is linked now to carnitine issues, but nothing helped, right? And like, but she's got horrible like bloating and things for years, and I know what caused it a long time ago, but regardless, to say she started off with just like a couple teaspoons or tablespoons of kefir and had no problem, and within like a month was like pounding as much kefir as she could drink. My sister, to this day, can't go past a tablespoon of milk kefir. Right, she just can't. Like, her gut is just done. Like, she just can't do it. And so every person's body and their microbiome like responds differently, and it might take you longer or shorter. But raw milk already has a lot of really beneficial bacteria in it. It's nowhere near the same as, let's say, milk kefir, but it still has a lot of good beneficial bacteria in it. And so I wouldn't give up, but I would just swap the L-reuteri with the milk kefir and then have the milk kefir last. You could also try water kefir. It's a lot like milk kefir. There are less strains of bacteria in it compared to milk kefir, so that might be a little bit easier, but it also might just blow right through you, because that bacteria is serious about killing bacteria that's not supposed to be there. They don't fuck around. Okay. Where do I purchase my tallow? Most of my tallow that I use for myself is from my own animals, right? And then typically I'm getting tallow from like local farmers, like if I need like a larger amount, like when I like used to do like tons of cream and stuff like that. But you can certainly look around in your region. You can also look online for like grass fed, but like I'll tell you right now, if it's not yellow, it wasn't actually grass fed. I see a lot of grass fed beef tallow that's like white. And they've either bleached it or deodorized it or something like that. So your best bet might just be to look around for fat, be like, I need some beef fat from grass-fed animals, please. And if people overcomplicate rendering it, really you're just melting it down. And don't listen to anybody who tells you to put water in it unless you want rancid tallow. Melt down your tallow, strain it out so you get all the little bits and pieces out of it, so it's just pure oil, right? Just pure fat. Bring it up to so hot that it smokes. Cool it down until it stops smoking. Not till it's cool, but just until it stops smoking. Bring it up to where it smokes again. Cool it down. Bring it up to where it smokes again. You're done. When you're doing that every time you make it smoke off like that, you're knocking out water content that's naturally there, but you're also burning off any hormones that make it have that tallowy smell. Super easy to do. You might want to do it outside because it does smoke like an oil, but it's super easy. Okay, question, is hand sanitizer really bad? Oh yeah, hand sanitizer is fucking horrendous. It's been linked to cancer, gut issues, autoimmune issues. Like, you're all right. You can just use normal soap and water, and not antibacterial soap either. Normal soap and water. It does this thing called saponification, and if you have bacteria on your hands, they have like a fatty lipid cell around them. Saponification is, how when you use dish soap on a greasy plate and suddenly the grease comes off? Basically, it busts open the cellular envelope of the fat and it makes it go away. Same thing happens to bacteria and viruses. They have this little fatty envelope around them for protection. Use some soap, breaks it, goes away, right? And then your immune system will get better, and your gut health will get better, and your skin will get better. And there's a huge amount of studies on how dangerous hand sanitizers are. So definitely look into it. It just, people have been really, really made to be afraid of like touching things where like, ooh, it's all dirty, but like actually the more you do that, and of course if you're like, ooh, that person has the flu, maybe I'm not gonna eat something or rub my eyes before I wash my hands, right? But like, if you're not doing this on occasion with hands that you haven't washed, right, you're not communicating bacteria and what's happening in your microbiome and your external biome around you, and then your immune system doesn't get any signals, and then when you do finally get something, it's like, oh my god, and it freaks out. So yeah, I hate hand sanitizer. Question, can you make a tincture with the inner willow bark, and if so, would this be more of a heated process due to its hard shell? Yeah, no, I mean, you can. People definitely make tincture out of willow bark. Typically, it's more like the external and the very inner layer, but all of it's usable. It just depends on which part you're getting. And if you do, just use normal 100 proof vodka. The bark doesn't, it won't make it any harder for it to extract. It just takes time. You won't need any heat involved for that. Question. Would lithium capsules help me with bad anxiety? If so, how much? So if you're talking about lithium orate, which is probably what you're talking about, unless you have a prescription for lithium, yeah, it can help. Just try the standard dose on the bottle, right? Always try that first. Try it with some food. Typically, what lithium orate does is it helps your body clear out excess glutamate. Glutamate makes your brain go crazy. You need it for neuron like transmitting and communicating, but if it's not being synthesized into GABA acid, you just don't feel fucking great. You can have OCD, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, you're all over the place, right? And so if your anxiety definitely feels like it's like you're wound up all the time and overthinking like crazy, it's very likely to help because it's glutamate, right? You can also work with things like green tea, which sounds crazy because it has caffeine, but it also has L-theanine, which also directly opposes glutamate, right? Make sure that you're not eating any MSG in your diet. That is literally monosodium glutamate. It's really fucked up that they allow it in the food system. I'm just going to be honest. Like, it doesn't make food taste better. It makes you think it tastes better because you're getting this hormone that your brain's like, yes, I need that, and then you like crave the food. I mean, to me that seems fucked up, like an actual drug making you want something, which is why they put MSG in food to make it addictive, right? But it causes all kinds of issues. So making sure that you're getting that out of your diet. You can start working with ginger, chamomile tea. All these things directly oppose glutamate, and they're super helpful. Okay, so I think the contact dermatitis is from overuse of hand sanitizer. Oh yeah, it's definitely known for that. So, if you stop using the hand sanitizer and you start, I actually go check out my hand cream video. So not only like that hand sanitizer is not just giving you contact dermatitis, it has like sucked all moisture out of your hands like a fucking mummy. So if you go watch my super easy hand cream video, you can literally do it with a mixer and one little jar in the oven. It's really easy to do. That'd probably heal your hands up pretty quick because you know that the contact dermatitis is coming from drying out your hands. And so they need some like deep moisturization in there. Um, Thank you for all your giving of knowledge. I made the magnesium water and use it on my hands, and the relief is wonderful. I'm a weaver, and my tendons get a lot of work. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, our muscles use so much magnesium, so often when we cramp up from overuse or just cramp up in general, we either need magnesium or potassium. It's one or the other, but magnesium really can like bring that pain level down. I use it on my hip all the time. Let me see if I missed something down here. Thank you so much for the super again, Gina. Let me see if I missed your question. And thank you so much for, sorry, I was rolled up there. Thank you for the super, Tammy. So she says, do you recommend taking activated charcoal? Yeah, I mean, if you're dealing with, and I'll get to yours, Gina. I'll scroll up and find it. If you're dealing with like endotoxin loads or like chronic diarrhea, chronic bloating, as long as you're not chronically constipated. If you're already constipated, I would not take activated charcoal because it's just gonna bind things up. And if you do take it without being constipated, make sure you're drinking plenty of water with it. I would take it away from any medications, and I would take it away from food as well. So you're wanting it to basically sweep out what you don't want in there, not the nutrients or the medication that you're having to take. But you don't have to be afraid of taking it if you also take medication. Just take them separate, by a few hours, so they're different parts of your digestive tract, but it is pretty good for mopping up endotoxins and things like that. Some people, if you already have like really low like GABA and dopamine and things like that, it might make you feel a little sad. If you notice that, it means that like you don't those levels aren't high enough to like take it yet, and you could start working with something like California poppy or ginkgo to raise those up, right? Because it's just kind of a catch-all. I really like the bentonite clay. I like that one. I also like chitosan as a binder too. Um, it's all about like grabbing that bile and pushing it out. Of course, you could use well-soaked oats as well as well-prepared beans too to do the same thing with a little bit less of a absorption risk to other things. Um, okay, so question: can you do a session and only discuss your products you create and sell? I think we all want to know more of your products and its benefits. As you discuss, we can ask questions. I used to do, for those of you who have followed me back like in the old school Instagram days, I used to do like 3 hour live sessions. Actually, it was fucking crazy. The day before a shop update, I would talk for 2 hours live about everything that I was going to have, and then I would have the shop update, and then after the dust settled, I'd go live again and tell you what was left, and we'd watch stuff sell out. It was like real time QVC. I kind of have my hands tied at this point. Like, as I've grown and as I've become like more and more compliant, according to like FDA standards, if I come on here, I have to like really watch what I say about the things that I make because it becomes a medical claim. So, like, if I took one of my videos, for example, on Mullein and how it helps with like your lungs function and all that type of stuff, and I embedded it onto my shop website where I sell the Mullein and reishi, it would become a medical claim. If I keep them separate, it's not a medical claim. There's like this unspoken 2-click rule. Like, if it takes you guys 2 clicks to get to something I'm selling versus something I'm telling you about, like on a different website, it's not really looked at as a medical claim, right? So I kind of can't really, but sometimes, and now hear me out, there's a workaround. If you go onto my shop and you're like, I really wonder what the blue vervain in this synergism capsule she's doing is about, and you go and find my videos here on YouTube about blue vervain, you'll probably see why I put it in the capsule. Right? And so I'm to the point where enough people fucking hate me. People either really like me or they really hate me. I swear to fucking God, there is no in between. And I have a lot of herbalists that are in the hate category because I talk against like knowledge held hostage for profit, and I tell people that certifications in America aren't real. So if I give them something like fuel against me, it could go bad. So unfortunately, I just can't. I might be able to like do an overview of things, but I would not be able to probably answer questions because I'd have to like really like rein in my brain, and I'd be like, this supports naturally occurring cholesterol levels. Like, I can't even, it's crazy on my labels. So like, I can't even say like this helps high cholesterol. I can only say this helps cholesterol levels that are already within a range, right? So it's pretty crazy. All my labels have to go through like a fucking lawyer review, so the FDA doesn't pop me, So all of my labels are like compliant to the T. But yeah, okay. So question: would you explain a bit more detail about endocrine detox pathways and what herbs, etc., are best to use? Yeah. So like you're talking about anything, she means hormones. Like, endocrine is typically your hormone support, although I think that like thyroid and all that stuff is kind of like it's all of your endocrine center, but most of the time we're thinking about like progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, that type of stuff, and it all detoxes the same way through your gut. That's it. Shit it out. That is the pathway that you need to support. And you're thinking, well, I said liver, but your liver is so interconnected with your gut. People think of the liver as like a filter that cleans dirty things, and we need to detox our liver. But it's not a fucking car filter. That's not the way your liver functions. Basically, your liver's role is, as you eat food, the nutrients, this is really layman's term, there's a little tube that goes from your gut to your liver. Your gut says, here, liver, take this nutrition. Your liver's like, thanks. And then as as your blood goes through your liver, it inputs nutrition into your blood. But then as the blood goes through, it's like, what is this crap? You're not supposed to be here. Get in the gut. And so it takes excess hormones, medications, toxins, and things like that, and it goes into your gut, and then it goes down through, and ideally you're eating enough fiber, and then you shit it out, right? That is the detox pathway. So you can support your liver through that function. Like if your liver is not functioning well, then you're not going to be detoxing well, and particularly with hormones, right? And so essentially you really want to do things like working with like roasted dandelion root tea. You can work with milk thistle. I think she's a little rough, honestly, and most people feel like shit from her because it's pushing their liver too hard. I would step into the dandelion. Working with bitter like foods in your diet, you know, are like vinegar, things like that. Removing the rancid seed oils would go a long way. As far as herbs go, you can work with things like chamomile. Love her for helping your liver get out excess estrogen in particular. But she does open up those detox pathways. She is actually a bitter herb, so she helps with digestion. It's why if you kind of have gas, chamomile can help. She's a little bit of a carminative and things like that. But you can also step into the world of like blue vervain. I really like her for if you're also dealing with like control-based anxiety, where you feel like the only way you're safe is you have to control everyone and everything around you, right? Real A type of situation. Can help you let go of that, but also she's a bitter that directly supports liver function. And of course, you could step into like American ginseng, not Siberian, too stimulating. American ginseng is more in the bitter realms, and she's going to support that liver function as well. So you can kind of pick and choose which one of those feels best for your body. But then you need to be eating well-soaked oats. And by well-soaked oats, I mean you need to soak them overnight in water with something like a teaspoon, like a spoonful of yogurt. You need to make sure that those anti-nutrients are basically dissipated, and that the beta-glucans that are in her are like basically available to you. Now beta-glucans are also present in mushrooms as well, so if you want to start eating well-cooked mushrooms, that's an option too. Basically they have the ability to and the affinity to bind to your bile. Let me finish it and then I'll get to the other questions. I know. So essentially, when your liver is taking bile from your digestive tract, putting it into your gallbladder puts it back into your gut. It goes down your digestive tract, and if you're not eating enough bile, it just gets completely shunted, or not eating enough fiber, excuse me, it gets shunted back up into your liver, into your gallbladder, and back around. But what happens, guys? I've talked about this a lot before. What happens is if you have too much hormones, if you have too many toxins, if you have too much stuff built up in your body and you aren't eating the fiber that binds to the bile, it gets recycled. Now bile is important, so what happens is it's also grabbing onto like all of your fat soluble vitamins like A, K, E, things like that. And it wants to shunt those vitamins up into your liver, right, to get into your blood. But it also will keep bringing back all of like the toxic stuff. That's where the toxic bile theory comes from, right? So, but ultimately, that is how you want to support your whole like ability to detox estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, your whole endocrine area. That's how it goes out. So, all right. Let me answer like one or two more questions. I'm sorry that took so long. And then I gotta go because I know my daughter's gotta get to her art class. And it takes us about half an hour to get there. Okay, so question. I'm just gonna roll through to the bottom, guys. I'm gonna do my best. What are your thoughts on this new beef organ supplement like Primal Queen and other brands I've been seeing a lot? I mean, they're okay. Ask them for a COA. Ask them where they're getting it from. See if they're white labeling. There's a lot of white labeling going on right now. Ancestral Supplements is the OG one. You can also just buy beef liver. You can also just buy beef organs. Like Heart is Delicious, and you can start just working it in. But also, don't overdo it. There is too much of a good thing. Right, you can't get too much vitamin A, you can't get too much iron, you can't get too much stuff from these supplements if you're taking tons of them and all different types. So, narrow it down, see what you need, see how you feel. and definitely check their quality. How do you stop muscle spasms? For the past 2 days, I'm having spasms in a specific spot in my left calf that activates every time I walk. You could start by checking out my magnesium oil video, but you probably need more magnesium. You might need to eat some more bananas or potatoes. You might have a potassium thing too, but eat them together. But topically, magnesium oil is a good way to start. And if it burns and itches like fucking crazy when you put it on, you're not having a bad reaction. You're really deficient, and you're actually feeling your skin pull it in so fast that you feel it. And that's how, if it feels that way, you found your answer. You need more magnesium. Um, Question: I got your 8 book bundle a while ago, and you had a book on your journey, and I don't see where we can get a copy. I know. I need to just reprint my Spare Changing for Trauma book. I feel self conscious about it because I know it needs to be edited, but also like I don't want to read it because it is like a lot of my trauma stories, and I'm just not in the place where I feel like I want to like. I'm very visual spatial, so as I edit, I will have to relive that shit like in my head and like remember it and feel it and smell it and taste it. So I might just fucking put a disclaimer on there and be like, this book has issues. It's a fucking piece of art. That's what it is. No refunds. Because inevitably people will yell at me about the typos and shit. Um, Question: I have a hiatal hernia and IBS constipation. Looking into herbs and notice slippery elm is a thing. Thoughts? Also worth it to try. Grow if it works. Yeah, it's a big tree, so it's better just to buy it because I mean you can grow it by all means, but you would need enough on a consistent basis. But if you are dealing with constipation, look into aged cascara bark and just to completely contradict myself from earlier, I will say I do happen to have an aged cascara bark plus slippery elm synergism capsule in my shop. I do, because people need to shit. People always ask me about how to take a shit. It's like literally my ad, and I'm like, yeah, cascara bark would be fantastic for that. Um, Okay, when is the best time to pick lilacs to make an infusion? You need to do that when they are in full bloom, right? Just wait till they're all open. So anytime works once they're in full bloom. Before you end, just want to say thank you for doing what you love to do. By proxy, I am better in many levels and understand so much more about me. Thank you so much. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. And I'm super grateful for you guys being here with me and supporting my ability to exist. You literally help me keep a roof over my head, tea in my pot, all that stuff I always say, but it's true. I know it just sounds like a way that I like wrap up a video, but I literally do nothing else. This is what we as a family do for a living. Like, this isn't like my hobby. My husband doesn't have some high paying job. Like, we were poor as fuck and we start doing this, and this is all we do. And so it is really, really meaningful. Like, I have food because of you, I have electricity because of you, I have, most of my needs met because of you, and it's a super big deal, and I do not take it lightly, and I do my best to make things reciprocal. So thank you so much for being here with me. If you're a future person that's where you're watching this and you want to support my capacity to teach freely, do consider becoming a member like everybody who got to ask a question here. It's just a way to throw me a couple bucks a month. In fact, you can now join for just 99 cents. It gets you access to these Q&As and like early uploaded videos as I'm able to make them. I do plan on, you guys, because I know you're still here listening, I do plan on getting started with the members draw. I have a few little quirks to like work out, like how to contact people after they've won. Because YouTube doesn't really let you, like, I can't message you, right? It's not really a way that works. So I'm just kind of fine tuning that, and then we'll get started with that where I gift one-on-one like research thing to members like through a raffle, right? And that's for people who are in the $4.99 range and up, and just as a way to say thank you. And definitely go check out my shop. There's all kinds of things in there that I'm not allowed to talk about on here as much, so definitely go check it out. I've got all kinds of synergism capsules and things like that. And lastly, but most importantly, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and share. Sharing is important because it helps tell people that they're smart enough to do this too, that they can get curious, take their health back into their own hands, and it tells the algorithm that I'm a cool person. So thanks so much, folks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.